The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Wrestling to the Max NXT Review.
I feel like I have a case of deja vu all over again, Brandon. Haven't we already done this twice today?
Yep.
Good.
And we've got another one upcoming.
Well, kind of. We'll explain the details to that at the end of the show. Good evening, afternoon, morning, whenever you're listening to us, everybody, as we are live to tape on the W2M Network for the Wrestling to the Max NX. Oh, wait, that has a sound effect. Never
Yeah, that one has a sound, so you missed your opportunity earlier when we did 205.
I did. I sad. It's all right. I've been missing crap all day today, so it's really not that big.
Like how you forgot the one fall?
Don't you push your luck, Biskobing. I hang up now. You don't have a co-host. You're SOL.
I'm gonna be the Joey Styles of W2M, running this stuff on my own.
Oh, I feel like that ends horribly.
It ends awesomely.
Having tried to call a wrestling show by myself before, it's not fun.
I could imagine. I've done it with... Oh, you think it's bad for wrestling? At least you have things going on in wrestling. Try doing it for baseball.
In fairness, you have multiple personalities that could talk to each other in the baseball booth.
I'm saying doing it solo.
I understand. Never mind. He's Brandon Biskobing. I'm Harry Broadhurst. This is the Wrestling to the Max NXT review, available online at W2Mnet.com, in addition to many of the fine places you listen to most of these W2M Network performances: iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spreaker, Podbean, CastBox. Hey, Brandon.
Yeah?
You know what I hear?
Spotify is coming.
Eventually.
Eventually.
We make no promises to the timetable, just eventually. Anywho. So as I mentioned, this is the NXT review for June 27th. I got the date right without having to look it up.
Huzzah, you can do math again.
2018. Oh, I just had an awful afternoon when it came to podcasts. Not my best performance. This is the NXT review. We are firmly on the road after NXT TakeOver Chicago 2, which was the last actual broadcast that we had, because last week was just a clip show, which means we should probably touch on the two matches that happened on TakeOver Chicago's post-show, shouldn't we?
I guess.
I bet you forgot.
Yeah, I did, but we can... I can fake it.
Did you even watch the episode?
No.
Oh, well, you're just a horrible person. Bianca Belair defeated Dakota Kai, so the push for Belair continues.
Okay, that's not surprising.
Which actually it does surprise me, because I figured Dakota would be one of the future... They were going to build Dakota up for a rematch with Shayna.
That's true.
I mean, I still think that Shayna's next challenger is going to be Kairi Sane, since they are kind of tied at one right now. Shayna won on NXT TV, and Kairi beat Shayna to win the Mae Young Classic #1.
Didn't we kind of already get a hint of that on this week's episode?
I don't remember Shayna being on the show. I mean, we saw Candice on the show, but we'll talk about that.
Right, that was right, never mind.
Yeah, we'll talk about Candice here in a little bit. The other match was the main event of the evening, scheduled for one fall.
One fall.
As I intentionally didn't do it for the women's match because it was short and inoffensive.
Yes.
The main event was also short and relatively inoffensive. Surprisingly short, though, as the War Raiders took on the Mighty. Yeah, well, the Mighty get the beaten in about 5 minutes.
I think this is how it should have gone, because, while yes, they've given the Mighty a bit of a push as these has this heel tag team lately, War Raiders needed that win. They need that push. I want them to be tag champs soon.
See, I don't see either of these two teams moving up anytime soon after what we saw at the UKCT2.
Yeah, but I think after they finish this whole feud between Undisputed Era and Moustache Mountain, I would think and hope that War Raiders are going to be the next challengers.
We'll see what ends up happening here. Other than that, it was just a bunch of highlight packages from TakeOver Chicago. Did you and Liz do TakeOver Chicago?
Yes.
That's available in the archives at W2Mnet.com, or you can find it on any of those aforementioned podcast listening places. Now that takes us to the 627 edition of NXT, as Aleister Black comes out for a little tete-a-tete to start the show, talking about how he finally took down Lars Sullivan. And while Sullivan may have surprised him by once again countering Black Mass, in the end, the monster faded to black. Aleister is then interrupted by Tommaso Ciampa. I said Aleister is interrupted by Tommaso Ciampa.
I don't know what you're trying to do there.
You were right, Terry. Thank you, Brandon.
Yes, fine. Yeah, you were right. They're being stupid.
Well, maybe. We'll talk about that in a bit. And Tommaso Ciampa points out the fact that he beat Johnny Gargano with his hands cuffed behind his back, which technically he did. And this says that if Regal gives him the match, that Ciampa will be the man to make Aleister Black's title reign fade to black. Your thoughts on our opening segment? I skipped a little bit of it, but frankly, people need to be watching the show rather than just listening to our review. Anyway, I don't want to give away too much.
Yes. I mean, I'm okay with this in and of itself, in terms of Ciampa, this is how he would be, where it's like, yeah, you got a fluke win, so now you think you're God, basically, and, you're gonna go after the big dog now. But, and I'm sure we'll talk about this more later, I don't like this on a storytelling level and on a promotional level, because in case those of you who may or may not follow the rumor mill as much as I do, apparently WWE is trying to move into bigger venues for SummerSlam as well now. Which means that rumor has it that this will be the last year in Brooklyn. So they should be sending NXT Takeover Brooklyn, which is really one of the big, that first NXT Takeover Brooklyn was really one of the catalysts to what NXT is today, and the launching point for really drawing a lot more viewers. They should be sending this off with a bang, and no bigger bang. And not to mention, the first NXT TakeOver Brooklyn had the first ever ladder match in NXT history. This should have been the first ever Hell in a Cell match or some other stipulation match between Gargano and Ciampa to end the 1-1 draw that they have currently.
Well, I don't think we're done yet, and we'll talk about this in a little bit once we get to the Gargano segment as well. But one of the things that I do want to point out, too, is that there's going to be a fine little bit of storytelling involved with it once we get to Gargano's. I'm going to save that until we actually get there, though. I don't want to give away too much. Mm-hmm. Did you know, needs the WWE graphic right here, that Lars Sullivan wrestled half of the match against Aleister Black with a broken jaw? All right, I can't lie. That's one tough sumbitch right there.
Yeah.
Screw that.
Yeah.
Vanessa Bourne is interviewed backstage and talks about Kairi Sane in an attempt to make Vanessa Bourne relevant. Kairi Sane will proceed to make her unrelevant probably as early as next week.
Yep.
Okay, a little bit of a personal bias aside here. I actually find, and I've said this before, I actually find Vanessa Bourne, Danielle Camella to be very attractive. In my opinion, she's shown a lot of potential as well. That being said, don't go around saying she's in Kairi Sane's league right now, because she's clearly not.
There seems to be a hierarchy amongst the women who have shown up on NXT from the Mae Young Classic. I would say you have Kairi and Shayna at the top, followed by Dakota Kai, Bianca Belair, and Candice LeRae in the second tier. Vanessa Bourne and what's her name? She was on this.
Lacey Evans?
Yeah, Lacey Evans. There we go. Vanessa Bourne and Lacey Evans on that next rung underneath them, and then everyone else.
See, I don't even know that I would put Vanessa Bourne up on Lacey Evans' level, because Lacey's shown far more on NXT TV so far than Vanessa has.
That's true. I was just putting them both there of people who they've shown on NXT TV and they've seemed to have wanted to do something with, but they haven't really impressed much at all yet.
Very well. I do feel like we could end up seeing something further down the line with Vanessa. She's not there right now. Giving her a match against somebody like Kairi is going to help her progress, but I don't think she's on a level right now where it's believable that she's going to beat Kairi unless some kind of crazy shenanigans go down in this contest. Our opening contest, scheduled for one fall, is Kona Reeves taking on Max Umberto. Yes, that's his actual gimmick name. Really? That was about my thought, too, here. Don't get me wrong about Kona Reeves. I like the fact that he went away and then came back with a gimmick that he appears to be having fun with. It hasn't made him any better in the ring.
I have a feeling, and this is a bit of an insult to the other person that I am going to reference, but I think the similarities are actually there on a number of different levels.
Kona and Bianca Belair?
No. Kona and The Dream.
Not even close.
They both came in, had nothing gimmicks, went away for a while, and now are trying to build better gimmicks to varying degrees of success. And also, Velveteen, while I'm still not his biggest fan, at first it felt like he was going to be, like, when he first came in. Now, I'm not saying that I think Kona is going to have the level of, success and the rise that Velveteen had, not by a long shot. But Velveteen, when he first came in, also kind of felt like, this is cringeworthy and I don't care to see it.
See, I actually enjoyed the Velveteen Dream gimmick. I think it was a lot better than what he was doing under his real name, Patrick
definitely.
Clark, with the Patrick Clark experience. Yeah. I don't know that we're ever going to get anywhere near that level with Kona Reeves.
No, I'm not saying that.
Like, I get the idea behind the gimmick for Kona Reeves. I do, and I appreciate the effort, but he is not the person to pull this gimmick off.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention, he's incredibly disinteresting in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
He picks up the win here with the Hawaiian drop, which I'll admit is kind of a cool finish. It is a sit-out variation of the Samoan drop, where he falls to his back and drops the opponent on their stomach. That's actually kind of cool. But that is the only cool thing in his moveset thus far.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's a bunch of basic... I can't say that. I was going to say it's a bunch of basic bitch stuff, but I can't really say that, can I?
You just did.
Well, it is, but I'm not wrong.
No, you're not.
And then that fall backwards elbow drop off the second rope, which frankly looks stupid and makes the person taking it look even dumber.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I have a feeling that he's going to be, like, they're going to try to push him, but it's not going to do much of anything.
Highlights of Moustache Mountain winning the NXT Tag Team titles over on the UKCT. Did you watch the UKCT shows, Brandon?
Not yet.
Well, spoiler alert.
Yes. Oh no, I already knew about the spoiler before the tapings even aired.
Well, yeah, because they announced them on .com like a bunch of idiots.
And posted it on, like, had alerts on the app.
See, that's why I've always disabled the alerts from the app and stuff. I don't want to know anything.
I should, but sometimes news comes in, like, for, Raw and SmackDown that I find interesting.
Our next contest, scheduled for one fall, is Candice LeRae taking on the lady of NXT, Lacey Evans. Swinging flatliner, unprettier, lion salt. Pick a finish, Candice. Because the three of them back to back to back like that doesn't do anybody any favors. That being said, I think I can officially go on the record and say that lion salt dough. Nobody's hit that move that clean in the WWE since Jericho used to do it.
Yep.
That was gorgeous. Your thoughts on Candice LeRae's first match post Gargano Ciampa kind of ish?
I mean, it's good. I like seeing her in the ring, as a competitor in and of itself. And, it's going to be interesting, especially with how, and they seem to be doing, well, I guess they kind of tried to break away from it already with that post-match interview. But it's going to be interesting to see where they go from here with her as a competitor, especially after they, to a lot of the, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing necessarily, because it did definitely endear her to the NXT universe, but especially the NXT crowd is a very smart crowd, so they know that most NXT fans, I'm sure, probably do know about her in-ring ability from the indies. But it will be very interesting to see how they handle moving her into a competitor position after they've used the first, 3-4 months of her in WWE, in NXT, as, her whole gimmick was just Johnny Gargano's wife.
More or less.
Yeah.
I mean, she did pick up a victory over Zelina Vega in Zelina's last match in NXT.
Oh, yeah, but
only match in NXT.
Well, yeah, but that was also built around Johnny, because that was all because of the feud against Almas. And also Vega, while yes, she has competed in the indies, she's not on NXT TV. She was not a wrestler. She was a valet.
Oh yeah, there's that. I won't disagree with that. Speaking of Johnny, because everything appears to be about him in this whole regard, Gargano ends up having an interview backstage with Kathy Kelly where she asks him about what he thought of Candice's match against Lacey Evans that he just watched. Gargano glosses over the match and doesn't really discuss it at all. Dissension alert.
I really hope they don't go that route. I see it coming already, but I really, really, really hope they don't do that.
Well, we see that happen there, and then Gargano goes back to talking about Tommaso Ciampa, about the fact that Ciampa ripped off the Reading ring, spit on it, and then threw it into the crowd, and still managed to get his hand raised in victory that night. Johnny says the way that he sees it, it's 1-1, and this isn't over until Tommaso's done. Mm-hmm. Before storming off, saying that he's going to find William Regal and get another match. William Regal announces via Twitter, because apparently Regal isn't at the tapings.
I thought we saw him. I thought I saw him in this episode.
He was not on TV during this episode.
I thought we saw a whole thing of him, or was that in the Twitter post that he said, Gargano needs to stop focusing on Ciampa.
William Regal announces via Twitter that Gargano needs to move on from Ciampa, so he put him in a match next week with a guy who has a similar belief that this show should be all about him, EC3.
I'm calling it right now, and I really hope I'm right. And thank you very much. Just like how you said, had me say that you were right about the whole Ciampa thing. I was right about this, where the EC3 match is not going to be a big feud for Gargano. It will just be a means to an end. I still have a feeling that we may still get Gargano Ciampa 3 at Brooklyn, because I have a feeling that Gargano is going to win against EC3 and then move on and basically call out Ciampa and say this isn't over yet.
My tablet is being a butthole right now, so give me a quick second to fight with this here. While I do so, okay, here we go. We're good now.
Okay.
Kathy Kelly backstage has an interview with Candice LeRae about her match, and then asks her what's her thoughts on the whole scenario as well with what happened at TakeOver. Candice states that she's concerned for Johnny, but she's realized that she can't be just concerned for Johnny. She needs to focus on herself and her future goals, and that includes becoming the NXT Women's Champion. To answer your question from earlier, I said Kyrie. Based on what we're seeing tonight, it very well may be Candice instead as the challenger at TakeOver Brooklyn for Shayna Baszler.
I think they could go either way. That's the good thing about the women's division. And I said it before, and I said it before, and I'll say it again. I think right now is probably the strongest that we've seen the women's division in a long time. Probably since the Four Horsewomen era.
Sorry, I'm dying. Give me a second. I want to say something, and I was swallowing my drink while I was saying it. I'm good.
Well,
yeah, I'm special. It happens. Tentatively disagree with that, because I think that people like Ember Moon and Nikki Cross deserve credit for what they did for the women's division while they were down there. The NXT women's division has never been weak, in my opinion. It's been better.
No.
The NXT, it's been better at certain times than it has been at others, but it's never been bad, in my opinion. I always feel like the women's division is something that helps carry the show, especially when the heavyweight division ends up in flux because of all the call-ups and stuff that they deal with.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that there has ever been a bad time for the women's division, but I'm mostly talking about in terms of depth, because look at how many potential contenders you have for the title that could be legitimate threats. You have Candice, you have Nikki Cross, you still do have Nikki Cross, you have Candice LeRae, you have Bianca Belair, you have Dakota Kai, even some of the other people that we haven't seen, if used correctly, they could, in theory, become threats as well.
Not to mention the announcement of the Mae Young Classic 2 will probably inject even more life into the NXT women's division.
Exactly.
Our main event, scheduled for one fall, is going to be the NXT Tag Team Champions Moustache Mountain taking on Dave Dixon and Carl Axel. Well, so much for that.
Nope, never mind.
Yep. Sorry, booking sheet scratch out. Give me a second here. White out. Dixon and Axelrod get jumped on the ramp by Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly, with Roderick Strong laying in a particularly vicious-looking leaping knee strike to Dixon, I think. May have been Axelrod, possibly. Not sure. I think I issued enough disclaimers for me to get away with that. And then just relatively beating the stuffing out of the two jabrones on the stage, including pitching one of them off the stage to the floor. Kevin Owens off a ladder style. Whee! Splat!
Or Foley off a cell, which is very fitting considering today.
But no announce tables to break their falls, though.
No.
Not that announce table really did a whole lot to help.
No, not at all.
Roderick and Kyle claimed that it was a fluke, and that they are paper champions, and what happened overseas only happened because they had all of their supporters around. And now that they're back away from those blithering idiots back in the States, that the Undisputed Era will reclaim what is theirs. The Undisputed Era bum rush the ring in an attempt to take out Moustache Mountain 3-on-2 when Ricochet makes the save for Moustache Mountain. We go to a quick commercial break, and when we come back, it's the Teddy Long special. It's a 6-man tag match.
Player.
Scheduled for one fall.
One fall.
And is your main event of the evening as the Undisputed Era of Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, and Adam Cole.
Baby.
Take on Moustache Mountain and Ricochet. Jesus, that was a lot of gimmicks in one sentence.
Yeah, it was.
The match itself kicks like 7 different kinds of ass. Fantastic start to finish. They go almost 15 minutes, I believe. It says 13 here on Larry's review. That seems about right. Just straight undisputed balls Mahoney to the wall act. I'm being told I can't say balls Mahoney. I must refrain from saying balls Mahoney.
Yeah, we're hitting all the gimmicks tonight, aren't we?
It's the greatest hits edition of NXT. What do you want from me? Balls to the wall action for all of the contest here. And the end is the important thing to talk about here. So let's go ahead and touch on that real quick here. Ricochet puts down Adam Cole with an elevated flatliner, then goes up top and hits the 630 senton. He goes for the cover, gets a 2 count, and would have had 3 if not for the interrupticus, courtesy of Kyle O'Reilly pulling Adam Cole out. Ricochet is none too pleased about this, including making a visual face that proves that he's very unpleased about this. That made me chuckle. Before he dives out, tope style.
That's his little that's his little to the likes of Jim Cornette who think he can't sell.
Double cheese, double pickle, extra mayo. Anyway, sorry. So Ricochet decides to get flippy with it and takes out Kyle O'Reilly with a suicide dive through the top and the middle rope. As he does so, though, he is picked up and dropped back first across the apron, courtesy of a drop suplex by Roderick Strong. So I guess technically that would be a backbreaker. And then once that happens, Strong rolls him back into the ring. Adam Cole
Baby.
Gets the arm over, and a 3 count later sees the Undisputed Era pick up the victory, Ricochet eating the fall rather than the new tag team champions. All right, first of all, your thoughts on the match, and then we'll talk about the finish.
I mean, it was just a crazy match. It was, I mean, you described it pretty much perfectly. Balls to the wall action. You know, it was a great match. That's all I gotta say about it.
I apologize for the snicker there. It took everything I had to say, not to say we're not allowed to say balls Mahoney again. The gimmicks run deep with this one. What can I tell you? All right, so let's talk about the finish here and the fact that Ricochet had a visual pinfall on the North American champion, Adam Cole. Do you think that leads to something in the future?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, we already know that, Undisputed Era is going to have their rematch against Moustache Mountain. But, yeah, I have a feeling that this will be the next feud for the North American title.
All right, with 7 weeks between now and Takeover Brooklyn 3, I believe it is.
4.
This is Takeover Brooklyn 4?
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's about 7 weeks between here and there. Do you think that the North American or the tag team title matches are matches that we get on NXT TV, or do you think they save those for Takeover Brooklyn 4?
Don't ask me a loaded question like that, because you already know the answer to one of those.
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
I don't read spoilers.
No, I didn't read a spoiler. This was another alert that they
I
foolishly...
turned off the alerts.
Okay. Well, let me...
Nope.
What?
You're already revealing that one of the title matches with the change happens between now and then. Don't say which.
Okay, fine.
Nope, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that to everybody listening at home.
Fair enough.
Kip, I don't want to be that spoiler guy. It's just not nice.
Yes.
Spoilers are not nice, Brandon.
I know this.
Then turn off the alerts.
I may have to eventually.
And that is officially a wrap for the June 27th edition of NXT. Scale of 1 to 10, Bizko.
I'll give it a 7. There were some. I mean, the main event was great. Some of the other stuff that we got in this show was good. The opening segment, and then with Gargano in the back and Regal's response and all of that, it leads some intrigue moving forward. And like you said, they've got 8 weeks to get themselves ready for Brooklyn. So it's going to lead to some intrigue moving forward. But then other than that, most of the other matches were either squashes or snooze fests.
Allow me to make a very bold prediction.
Okay.
NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 4 main event. Aleister Black defends against Tommaso Ciampa.
Okay.
And Johnny Gargano in a triple threat.
I guess I'd be okay with that. But
what better way for them to settle their differences by having the heavyweight title on the balance as well?
But then that kind of makes that just is gonna make like this weird triangle. I feel, because Gargano is gonna be completely focused on Ciampa. Aleister, because of his respect for Gargano, is going to be focused more so on Ciampa. But, he's still going to be focused on keeping his title, and Ciampa's going to be focused on both humiliating Gargano and getting the title at the same point.
I think that it's a road that you could go down. At the same time, I feel like if you were to do Tommaso and Johnny again on regular NXT television, you'd be doing them a disservice.
Exactly.
So why not save the blow-off for down the road if it does happen in NXT, and use this as an opportunity to make a kick-ass main event here that has 3 of arguably the best performers in the world right now, between Aleister Black and then the 2 men who have averaged 4.5 stars for their matches in Gargano and Ciampa over the course of this calendar year.
I just think, especially with this more than likely being the last TakeOver Brooklyn, at least for a while, that this should be a big, this should be the moment for the big blow-off.
We'll see what ends up happening. But, all right, I'm going to go a little bit higher than you did, Brandon. I'm actually going to give it a 7.5 because I really enjoyed the main event, and I thought the Candice and Lacey match was pretty good as well, especially with Candice getting to finally showcase some of what she's capable of.
Mm-hmm. I'll give you that.
So I'm going to go a little bit higher than you did. We agree on Kona Reeves. I don't see anything there. You don't see anything there. He has to prove us wrong, but right now I'm not buying what he's selling.
Nope.
And then we kind of laid the foundation for what's going forward, too, because there was a Heavy Machinery promo that we need to talk about as well, where they had the brats on the grill, and they were talking about how it's no more fun in games because of what happened with the Mighty. They're now coming for kick-ass.
That whole segment just made me hungry.
Of course it did. You fat kid.
I just love bratwurst.
I love Broadhurst.
Yes.
It's funny because it's my last name.
Yes.
Oh, he did comedy. Thanks, Fuad. Anyway, one word review, Brandon. Sudden.
Sudden? That's yours?
These shows just fly by.
Oh, yes. Well,
It doesn't feel like an hour.
I know, I don't know if this has been officially confirmed or not, but shall we talk about the rumor about NXT and what we think may result?
Unfortunately, not if we want to do this other podcast. We shouldn't.
True.
We will touch on that rumor and so much more next week here.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll call that leaving a tease for you guys at the end of the episode. How's that?
Yeah, that works.
Throw out your plugs, Brandon. Give me your one word.
My word review. I'll say inconsistent. Like I mentioned during my number. Some the beginning and end were great. Some of the middle stuff was good, but some of the matches like Kona Reeves was just snooze fests.
All right, very well.
For plugs, we did not get the chance to do Raw this week, but we'll be back next week.
Sorry to cut in on your plug here, but it might be me sitting in for Liz next week on Raw.
Yes.
Stay tuned for more updates there. If it is, Raw will come to you, same time it usually does. You guys don't record right afterwards.
No.
Continue.
We did finally record SmackDown in 205 today, so be sure to tune in. Be sure to go check that out. And we have the Fantasy Football to the Max 2-round mock draft coming up in a little. We'll be recording it in a little bit after this, so be sure to tune in for that if you are a fantasy football person. And then soon enough, we're getting close. Harry's getting close. We will have How the War Was Won coming soon.
I am currently up to the January 10th, 1995 edition of ECW. If you give me about 30 seconds, Brandon, stall for time. Okay. I will tell you the exact date for In Your House 2 in 1995. So stall for time, Brandon. Give me a few seconds here, will you?
So, yeah, be sure to tune in for all of the fun and all of the hilarity as Harry and I will relive the past. Relive the glory days of when wrestling was fun. WWF. Yes, it was. We get some Stone Cold. We get to watch Foley get tossed off of cells again. Undertaker. All that fun stuff.
Almost there. Almost there. Okay, I'm good.
Okay.
The two WCW pay-per-views in July of 1995 were a week apart. Bash at the Beach was July 16th.
1 year prior to the infamous Bash at the Beach.
Well, that one was at the beginning of the month, though. That one was like the 7th, I think. Anyway, the In Your House 2, the Lumberjacks, was July 23rd, 1996. So as of right now, when I watch next week's episode of Raw, we will be officially 6 timeline months away from the launch of How the War Was Won.
Okay.
Ideally, we're looking at about sometime around, right around football season.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. We may have some problems with that, but we'll figure it out. Once you get up to that point, then we'll figure out all the logistics of that.
Yeah, especially if we're going to be returning every Wednesday night with the kickoff.
Yep. And I'll still be doing the fantasy football podcast as well. So.
Yeah, but you'll probably be doing that on Thursdays. The kickoff will be on Wednesdays.
I don't know how we're going to do that on Thursdays, though, with Thursday Night Football in progress.
That's a good point. Crap. We're going to have to figure this out. Well, I'll tell you what. Y'all stay tuned to the W2M Network, and we'll keep you updated. Yes. How's that sound?
Yeah, that sounds good.
He's Brandon Biskobing. I'm Harry Broadhurst. We have a fantasy football draft to record, so we want to thank you for listening to NXT. We'll talk to you guys next week with more from the Yellow brand here on the W2M Network, available online at W2Mnet.com.